and we're back for the 5-minute riff. I just choked so much on my spit. Oh my God, that's the funniest thing ever. I think I'm gonna leave it. Anyway, so Christmas is over, thank God. Okay, I only say that because you guys know how I feel about Constantine taking over Saturnalia and naming it Jesus's birthday, which we really don't have evidence of. So anyway, so Christmas is over. We are back. We're back for the 5-minute riff. And I was just on a connection call. So I'm in a couple of masterminds and we set up these connection calls to meet each other. And so I was telling her, I was like, you know, I work with people to chip away their limiting beliefs using the attachment that they have to their body, in their health or in their aesthetic. I go, but the other thing that I do is really understand how the vibrational light body works. So how the spiritual body works that's invisible to the eye. And she's like, oh, that's so cool. And so it's like, yeah, like that's what we're here to do. And how we do it is that I help you calm your mind so that you can energize your body so that the outcome is the health and the aesthetic that you have been desiring for maybe your entire adult life. So anyway, that's who I am, if this is your first time catching me. So what we're doing is I have a bunch of topics in here and I'm doing a 5-minute riff every single day about one of these topics. And so this one says the center point of joy and sadness. Okay, so this is amazing. I have to get something really quick. 1 second. Woo! Are we ready for this? Okay. So, we got it for 5 minutes. I'm still laughing about choking on my spit. Okay, so the center point of joy and sadness. What I want you to think about is that if there is a straight line and there's a center point of neutrality, and on one side of the line is overemphasis on positive, which means going forth, impressing your will on things, and then on the other side is overly negative, which is feeling that you don't have any going forth energy. You just feel like in lack. So this is overdoing in lack and feeling no self-worth. This is overdoing in overcompensating for the lack. Does that make sense? So we overdo over here, we underdo over here. Now here's a sphere. So there is a belief system that the sphere is the most sophisticated geometric shape. And here's why. Because within that sphere, at the very center of it is that center point of neutrality. And where the edges of the sphere is where a negative attribute is. So let's say sadness. And over here is where a positive attribute is, we'll say joy. And so the goal of our life in connecting with this vibrational light body, our spiritual body that's invisible, is that we can stay in the center point of an energetic experience. So one single subject, so say this is a subject of liking your body, where on one end of the sphere, it could be joyous, and on the other end, it could be sadness. Whether this has to do with the aesthetic, or it has to do with your health, or whether like your health and your function, is it doing the things that you want it to do? Do you have all your limbs? Do you have all your organs? Is it fully functioning, and is it fully the aesthetic that you want? So that's the sphere consciousness of your body. So what the goal is that we're in the center of the sphere, hanging out in neutrality and being like, this is a really sad thing about my body that I have. This is a really joyous thing that I have about my body. And so when you're able to stand in the center of a point of neutrality, what happens is these two extreme polarized energies don't take you out. So you don't swing so far into sadness that makes you want to do the things that are going to cause you to overcompensate for your limitations or what you think are your limitations. It's not going to cause you to overeat. It's not going to cause you to stuff your face. It's not going to cause you to not exercise because you're not slid all the way over into sadness in the experience of your body. You're standing in the point of neutrality. And then with the joy, you don't slide so far over into the joy that you lose sight of everything that is not joy. And that's kind of a weird one because it's like, well, of course we would want to be super joyous. But Joyous in the context of letting the emotion overwhelm us to where we don't hold neutrality and don't take in everything else that could be part of the experience. Because if we're so far over into joy, what could happen is when one little thing happens, we could just like feel that little detachment from the highest aspect of joy, and then let it spiral us out of control. And so when we're able to stay in the point of neutrality, what ends up happening is the relationship that we have with our body. We can feel excited about our body and excited about the health progress that we're making or the aesthetic progress that we're making. But what happens is when we're in the neutral state, we can take in whatever stimulus comes our way and be able to hold an analysis of it. Because if we're too far into joy, this just sounds so outrageous that I would say we were too far into joy. If we were so far into joy and we had an injury happen, it could send us down a spiral, because what has happened is we've identified joy and body go together. Because it's our body and we're creating a meaning about our self-worth according to the feelings that we have in our body, if we were in constantly a state of joy, so like think about this, like when an athlete, like a football player or a baseball player has a devastating injury. Their identity associated with their body is no longer there. So they've built everything off of this high vibrational aspect of their body with their career, with their self-worth, with their livelihood, so that when something happens to disrupt it, it like goes all the way down. But if we have the point of neutrality, if we're this football player or this baseball player, we're like, I got skills. I got blessed with genes that made me a specimen, that allowed me to work my body in a way that provided me a livelihood. But I myself am not my body. These are all the other things associated with my self-worth. Because then if you're in that point of neutrality and something bad happens to the body in your aesthetic of how you like to look, or in your health or in its function, if you're in the neutral point, your wiggle is very minimal. And if you're in the center of the sphere, what you're doing is building the connections of the sphere. So the sphere is always the one single subject. In this case, it's the body. We're not talking about career and finance or relationships. We're talking about the body. So every time we are in the center of the sphere and we have an experience that has to do with the body, and we're as close to neutral as possible, we won't get taken out either way. So I want you to think of that when you're thinking about the experience in your body, because everything that's negative about your body, anything that you find negative about your body, is because of the meaning you've created the sensations in your body to mean about you. So it's not really about your body. Your body is here in the 3D environment to interact with your spiritual light body that is in the anti-material, to be like, this is what the planet's like. This is what it's like to be human. This is not the thing that makes you, right? Okay, so I went over on the 5 minutes a little bit, but I got a little distracted because I kept thinking about when I was choking in the beginning. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if this was helpful, and then I'll see you tomorrow. We'll do the 5-minute riff again tomorrow.